I'll spin this into Sports Talk Go Live. Sports Talk SC Live, yeah, I did. Remind the guys to be patient. Don't be too quick to jump the gun. Let me finish. I can come in. All right, where is he? Oh, also ask Will. Not Corn, to bring his mic stand with him to the football game. The mic stand that's in the room there. Thank you. All right, damn it, where are you? There we go. And Bentley, where are you? Bentley, Big Bentley, peace. 320. Okay, he's on his way. I need it for Monday.
It's time for the final word in sports all across the state. You're listening to Sports Talk with your hosts, Bill Kornblum, Will Pelagic, and the Professor Tom Hayes. You've been waiting all day. So join the show now by calling 800-956-7266.
Growing up, I wasn't really consider myself as a Clemson fan, but when someone would ask Clemson or Carolina, I would say Clemson. But like I said, when I got that offer, for South Carolina, now things started to change because, I was thinking about my future. But, I feel like deep down I was always a Clemson guy. It's just something, it's a good feeling, about being here and about wanting to come here and play.
Being, from the state and, seeing guys like, Connor Shaw and Dylan and Steven Garcia and guys like that play before me and just seeing the success and then, the things that they've been through, not just only against Clemson, but a winning quarterback in general. Obviously, winning the state's a big deal. And to kind of, I guess, be the quarterback of the team is a nice thing. But there's a lot of other people that go into a win.
And good evening, everybody. Welcome into Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network, the day after Thanksgiving. Hope you had a great holiday and you're looking forward to what should be a great weekend of football and a little bit of basketball thrown in there as well. Of course, rivalry weekend already off and running with the Egg Bowl last night. Ole Miss, benefiting from the injury to the Mississippi State quarterback, pulls off the upset. And then today, the shocker of shockers, Pittsburgh, a 17-point underdog, knocks off the number 2 team in the country, the Miami Hurricanes, and they really do it in solid fashion. This was not a fluke. This was not a last-minute Hail Mary, a field goal, or anything like that. They pretty much dominated Miami, which played horrible. Rozier, the quarterback, had a terrible game. I think that the Miami game plan was just to run a few plays and throw it deep, hoping they could break some big plays against the Pitt secondary, and they never could. Rozier was just not on his game. And so looking ahead to the ACC championship game next week, which we can, but Clemson can't, certainly Miami looked like a very vulnerable team today, losing up at Pittsburgh. There's other football going on today. There's a lot of basketball as well. Clemson had a hard-fought win over Texas Southern today, and Elijah Thomas in particular was spectacular for the Tigers. And USC women also victorious today as well. We'll give you details on all of that and more scores coming up here on the program. Your final thoughts on USC Clemson, any final predictions that you might want to share, any final insights you might want to share, 800-956-7266. Our email talkback at sportstalksc.com, and on Twitter, it's at SportsTalkSC. Phil Kornblut with you from an undisclosed location, still on Thanksgiving assignments. We have Will Pelagic and the Professor Tom Hayes back at the studios in the downtown Columbia. So, guys, it is rivalry weekend. You can update some of the games that are still going on at this moment. I know Arkansas and Missouri are locked up in a good one, but seriously, Miami just did not look anywhere like a playoff team today.
Well, here's the thing, Corn. When you look at this Miami team, really look at the games that they played over the course of this season. They really haven't looked as impressive as, say, a Clemson would or an Alabama would or any of these other teams that are vying for a college football playoff. The only game where they really looked impressive was in a victory over Notre Dame. We've already basically said that Notre Dame is not the team that we thought they were. And, the other game that really looked impressive was the Virginia Tech contest. Every other one has been a battle for them. Heck, they were down against Virginia last week. So when you think about this Miami team, I think that they have themselves as a team that's playing in the lesser of two divisions, the SEC East, if you will, inside the ACC with the Coastal there. And they're, I don't want to say a victim of a softer schedule than, say, a Clemson or an Alabama, but they certainly showed their warts today against a Pittsburgh team that quite honestly, they should have killed, Pro.
Well, the key point is Phil said we couldn't look ahead. Well, apparently Miami was, and they worked on their Clemson game plan without dealing with Pittsburgh. But this is a team, I agree with you, their schedule was strange because they had so many home games in a row that I think they forgot how to play
on the road
cooking.
Yeah.
And they got caught by a Pittsburgh team who said this was their bowl game, and they did it to Clemson last year. But Clemson had time to recover on their schedule from that loss, whereas Miami, this is the last thing that the committee will see before the ACC championship game. And some people were talking about maybe 2 ACC teams.
Nope.
That might be out the window.
Well,
right
and the
now.
other thing too, Corn, is that this ensures to me that the loser next Saturday in Charlotte does not go to the college football playoff.
That is true. And, of course, if South Carolina beats Clemson, no ACC
Also
team will probably go to the playoff after what happened with Miami today. So it also makes you wonder what in the heck the committee was thinking on Tuesday night when they moved Miami up to number 2 ahead of Clemson, considering how they struggled against Virginia. The win over Notre Dame got them into the 4. The win over Virginia should not have elevated them past anybody because they struggled to win that game at home, and then they go and lay an egg today up in Pittsburgh. All right, 800-956-7266 is our phone number. Our email talkback at SportsTalkSC.com and Twitter at SportsTalkSC. Final thoughts, final comments on USC Clemson. We'll share ours with you. We've got the governor and the attorney general coming up at the bottom of the hour for our football filibuster. David Shelton in a few minutes with his thoughts on tonight's statewide semifinals for the high school league teams. Of course, the big one, they're all big, okay? I'm not putting one over the other, but the one that has most people buzzing is the 5A semifinal here in Columbia between Dutch Fork and Fort Dorchester. That should be a dandy. But at this stage of the game, they should all be pretty good contests as we work our way towards the weekend of champions next week in Columbia. We'll also hear, you heard a little snippet from each, from the quarterbacks tomorrow. Jake Bentley for USC, Kelly Bryant for Clemson, and I harken back to something really great quote from many years ago, a story on Todd Ellis and Rodney Williams when they were the respective quarterbacks at USC and Clemson. And I think it was Todd Ellis who was quoted as saying in talking to Rodney, for 3 hours on this particular Saturday afternoon, talking about the quarterbacks in the USC-Clemson game, there are no more important people in the state, not a governor, not a mayor, not a U.S. rep or senator, not a more important person in the state of South Carolina for those 3.5 hours than the quarterback for each side in the USC-Clemson game.
And not only that, I believe that with these two guys being natives of the state of South Carolina, I don't want to say it necessarily means more to them, but you could tell the responsibility that both feels that they have going into this game, Corn. I think that Kelly Bryant, he knows about being, in that Clemson cavalry. He knows that necessarily going to Columbia as a Clemson starting quarterback from the state of South Carolina, they haven't had a lot of success. Only 2 quarterbacks have won in Columbia as natives of the state of South Carolina from Clemson in the last 40 years. It just doesn't happen. And apparently, you're looking at a lot of these other guys who have come through and have actually been successful at Clemson. They haven't been able to do it. So from the perspective that Kelly Bryant is in, he could be in some rarefied air with a win on Saturday.
The interesting thing you talk about is I think Clemson, even little mental edges, Corn, could help Clemson. And I think that loss by Miami, if they weren't thinking if we don't come with our A game tomorrow, we're not going to win. They're thinking it now because you can get ambushed. And we may have another ambush going on in Florida right now because South Florida's just cut that Central Florida lead 28-27, and they just got an interception late in the third quarter. And a whack game is broken out in Arkansas, 45 apiece, Missouri and Arkansas.
Yeah, I tell you, Missouri, you got to give them credit. I know their schedule softened up, much like Will's belly in the second half of the season.
Wow.
But
Easy.
they have put some offense together here down the stretch. There's no doubt about it.
Their defense still can't stop a nosebleed, Corn. That's the
I
problem.
know, but at least they're losing. Well, they're not losing a whole lot, and they're playing exciting football.
Yeah.
Considering USC's defense kept that offense in check, they've gone crazy the last half of the season. Okay, we'll come back. David Shelton will join us. Got some basketball to update for you, more football scores as well. Your phone calls if you'd like to join us. We'll give you our picks. The football filibuster's coming up. Oh, Clay Hendricks from Furman. They've got a playoff game tomorrow at Elon. We'll chat with him later, too. back into Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network on the eve of the Palmetto Bowl 2017, game number 115 in the series between the Gamecocks and the Tigers. So looking forward to it. I think it's just going to be a great night and a great setting. We'll see if the game lives up to the hype. Both schools have been putting out their hype videos this week, doing an excellent job.
I hope the game's as good as the hype videos, by the way, because they've been showing their mettle over the course of this past week, haven't they?
They have indeed. They do a great job with that stuff. And, you know, it's one thing to have a hype video. It's another thing to back it up. So we'll see if one or both is able to back up what is being hyped about them. Hey, we're brought to you by South Carolina soybean farmers and their checkoff. Learn more at scsoybeans.org. Pork powered by soy. College basketball this afternoon. Let me pass this on to you. Well, first of all, Will, give me a quick synopsis on the Clemson win today.
Clemson was playing a Texas Southern team that came in, and it really plays a very deep out-of-conference schedule. They play a lot of games away from home, coached by the former Indiana coach Mike Davis. They had a lead at the second half, and Texas Southern kept on kind of chipping away, but a big game for Elijah Thomas. He had 26 and 16. One concern for Clemson, Shelton Mitchell went down with an injury in the first half. They tried to have him play in the second half, but instead he basically kind of asked out, I guess, or at least the training staff thought he didn't look the same. So that'll be something to be concerned about, at least going forward. But all in all, they get themselves back in the win column, which is a good thing for the Tigers after that loss to Temple last weekend. They're back in action a week from Sunday, taking on, I believe, UNC Asheville out of the Big South.
Very good. USC women career high 33 from Aja Wilson. Lindsey Spann had 17. USC a winner over Rutgers today down in Florida, 78-68. Furman today was a winner over New Hampshire, 78-64 in that PK 80 Phil Knight event. Presbyterian was a winner today over Chicago State in Baltimore, 75-73. That was part of the Battle for Atlantis Mainland tournament, playing that thing up in Baltimore.
Well, you mentioned New Hampshire, Phil, and that makes me think of Chip Kelly. And you think, well, he's going to UCLA, Florida out of the running.
Yeah, he's out of the running in Florida, at least according to multiple reports, Corn. And it seems to me that would center around the Bruins possibly being the potential landing spot for the former Oregon man.
I would agree. And it sounds like, from what I've read, Scott Frost now the target for Florida as they move forward with their search.
Yep.
All right, let's get to some high school football. We have got the statewide semifinals for the high school league teams tonight. 20 teams practiced on Thanksgiving. That's always a good thing if you're one of those teams, because that means you're still alive in the state playoffs. Let's welcome in David Shelton of the High School Sports Report in the Charleston Post and Courier. And, yep, you're always busy on Thanksgiving, so it seems.
Yeah. I usually end up at a practice somewhere. I ended up at Fort Dorchester yesterday morning in the rain, in the cold rain before lunch, and it was fun. You know, Fort was very loose, having a lot of fun out there, and taking advantage of the cool temperatures and the little drizzle rain. But a little cool tonight, but no rain anywhere. It's going to be a great night for football across the state.
What do you recall about the regular season win by Fort D over Dutch Fork? What led to that particular victory?
Fort pretty much outplayed them in every phase. I mean, they built the lead early. They were up. The final score ended up 41-25, but it was like 41-10 or something like that in the fourth quarter. Dutch Fork scored a couple times in the fourth. I think they scored 11 points. Fort had over 400 yards. I mean, they outplayed them. They were the better team that night. Now, both teams have gotten better. Dutch Fork has settled on the quarterback. The running back, Ron Hoff, is back. Bryce Thompson has been being Bryce Thompson. But as Coach LaPrade said yesterday when I talked to him, he said, there's no question they're better. But he said, there's no question we're better. He said, we're a better team than we were back in early September. And, it'd be hard to argue with a coach whose team's averaging 56 points in the playoffs.
Interestingly enough, in the upper state, David, it's interesting. We talk about Gaffney kind of being that little engine that could. They find themselves up against a Dorman team that should be very interesting to see these two clash up in a state semifinal. How do you see this one going down in the upper state?
Yeah, it's going to be a really good game. You know, the first game was a one-touchdown difference, so Dorman beat Gaffney, and Dorman hadn't lost since since they lost their first two. And Gaffney has played very well down the stretch, especially on defense. Had a really good game last week. I look for this to be some points scored. I think Dorman's probably got a slight edge, but this is really one of those where you just kind of enjoy the game and see how it ends up. It's hard to really pick a winner. If I was forced to pick a winner, I would probably lean Dorman, but this would not be an upset if Gaffney were to win this game.
Well, let's do one of my favorite things of the year. Let's play David Says. And so let's just go back to that game. Dorman, Gaffney, the winner, David Says.
I just said Dorman. Were you not listening?
Okay. I was, but I wanted to start at the top and work my way through the daggone bracket. All right, let's go to Mr. Smarty Pants. Let's go to Dutch Fork and Fort Dorchester. The winner is, David Says,
Fort Dorchester.
Fort D. Beating them twice. Yeah. Let's go to the 4As. South Point going to Greer. David Says.
David says Greer has a shot, but David's going to pick South Point just because, they're South Point. But Greer has a shot in this game. If they can maybe score 28 points somehow, I think they can win the game.
All right. To the lower state, Berkeley going to Hartsville. You'll be there. The winner is, David Says.
I've been going back and forth on this one all week because every time I talk to someone else, I change my mind. I will say Hartsville because of their long home winning streak and the fan fox roaming around in the underneath the bleachers or whatever you want to call it. But Berkeley's got a shot in this game because they're really balanced offensively, probably as balanced as anybody Hartsville has played. But hard to pick against the Red Foxes when they won 47 in a row in Kellytown.
Oh, all right, let's go to 3A. I know your answer's here, but we'll let you say it nonetheless. Upper State, Emerald at Chapman. David Says.
David says Chapman is going to win the game, and probably easily. Great season for Emerald. I just don't think they can keep up with Chapman's offensive scoring.
All right, Lower State, Brooklyn Casey at Dillon. What does David think?
David thinks that Dillon is going to win. If Dillon plays poorly, Brooklyn Casey's certainly capable of doing things offensively to control the clock and keep the ball from them. But, again, you got to score points, and I just don't think they can score enough to beat Dillon.
All right, let's go to the double A's. Saluda going up to Abbeville, where it's all about the A. What does David say?
Well, I've been hearing that Abbeville's quarterback's a little banged up and may or may not play. If he doesn't play, I think Saluda's got a great shot. Saluda's a good team. Kind of quietly just been really good all year. They don't play quite the tough schedule that Abbeville does, but a healthy Abbeville, I would say, wins convincingly. A not healthy Abbeville is going to be closer, but I'm going to stick with the Panthers.
Okay. How about Barnwell going up to Bamberg Earhart or over to Bamberg Earhart? What does David say?
Yeah, this is going to be a really good game, defensive game. Bamberg beat them earlier in the year. Bamberg beat them, I think, twice last year. They're at home. They've had the best scoring defense in the state. I'm going to take Bamberg.
1A, got to move quickly. Ridge Spring Monetta at Lamar. What about it, David?
Lamar's going to win this game, and probably convincingly.
All right, and C.E. Murray at Baptist Hill, David says?
Will be a very good game. I'm leaning C.E. Murray. I think I'm going to take C.E. Murray just because they impressed me so much with what they did last week beating Hemingway. Baptist Hill got an explosive offense, though, but I'll take C.E. Murray.
Thank you, my friend. We'll talk to you later tonight on the high school scoreboard. David Shelton with us with our high school football report. By the way, should mention, too, one note on USC being reported out of the upstate today, Shai Smith, Gamecock receiver, is not going to play because of a leg injury. More on that coming up. Welcome back into Sports Talk, everybody. Good to have you with us on this Friday night leading into the Palmetto Bowl for 2017. We are approximately, give or take a minute or two, 25 hours away from kickoff. The official Sports Talk countdown clock is now operational. If you look into our studio, you can see the clock counting down towards the big moment when toe meets leather for the 115th time between the Gamecocks and the Tigers. Now it's time to find out what our two esteemed members of the football filibuster gang have to say about that game and others this weekend. We welcome former Governor of South Carolina, Jim Hodges, and current Attorney General of South Carolina, General Wilson. Gentlemen, good to have you with us tonight. How are you?
Doing well, sir. How are you?
Good, good, General. And Governor, how are you?
I'm doing terrific. Thanks, Phil.
Hope the two of you had a great holiday, a great Thanksgiving, Alan. Everything go well for you? You eat a bunch of bird?
Oh, we ate a lot of bird. We had a great time. I had about 25 people at my house, and we survived.
Wow.
So,
that is great. Governor, how about you?
Absolutely. Got to spend a lot of time with my family yesterday, and really looking forward to tomorrow. I think it's going to be a great Saturday.
Will you be at the game?
I will be at the game. I'm as I say, I'm looking forward to it. I'm hoping to get over there around 4 o'clock and have a chance to spend 3 hours or so with friends before the game.
So you can get yourself just primed right. How about you, General? You going to be at the game tomorrow?
Yeah, I'm taking my son down tomorrow a few hours before kickoff, and we're going to try to have a good time with some friends and family and try to enjoy the atmosphere and hopefully root the Gamecocks on to a victory.
Interesting.
Okay. Well, we'll get to that game in just a little bit. We have got, of course, 5 rivalry games to choose and to choose from. Always tough to pick rivalry games because you just can't factor in the emotional side of it. Of course, an unfortunate injury like what happened to Nick Fitzgerald last night with Mississippi State totally threw that game against the Bulldogs, even though they were at home. Give Ole Miss credit for taking advantage of it and breaking some big plays against Mississippi State last night. So you just can't account for that kind of stuff in predicting the outcome. However, let's get at it, and let's begin with the Big Ten showdown. Ohio State at Michigan. Oh, by the way, 1-4 last week for you, General. 3-2 for the Governor. So the Governor, you have a comfortable 5-game lead, 37-23 versus 32-28. Alan, you got to make some noise this week.
I'm going to have to do something, and I'm really going to have to do something because I haven't seen the games yet, so I'm really going to be winging it tonight.
Why haven't you seen the games?
I just haven't seen them yet, but that's all right. I'm gonna when I study, the Governor kills me. So I figure if I don't prepare for tonight, then maybe that'll be what happens. Maybe I'll flip the script and I actually get him this time.
You're just going to wing it, huh?
I'm going to have to wing it, yeah.
Okay, let's give it a shot. We begin with Ohio State at Michigan, General, and the Wolverines, double-digit underdogs at home. Boy, I wonder how many times that's happened in this series. They're getting 12 points.
Ohio State's winning by at least 12.
Correct.
Okay, yeah, I'm going to go with Ohio State.
You want Ohio State laying the 12. Governor, I think you're at a distinct advantage tonight. The General sounds lost.
Well, he's got a 50% chance of being right. So I'm taking Michigan on this one. Pride alone will keep Michigan within 12 points at home. And Harbaugh's still a hell of a coach. So I'm going to take Michigan.
Good on you, Governor.
Okay.
Like it.
All right. Let's go to Louisville at Kentucky. And again, the home team, in all 5 games, the home team is the underdog, getting points. So Louisville at Kentucky. Governor Hodges, you'll go first. Kentucky getting 10 here.
I love home dogs and rivalry games, so I'm going to take Kentucky. That's a lot of points. Louisville's looked mighty good, but Kentucky's been decent at home, and Louisville's not been so great on the road. So I'm going to take Kentucky.
Okay. General?
So Kentucky winning by 10 at home?
No, Kentucky's getting 10. Louisville winning
getting
by 10 on the road.
Louisville.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. I got it. So yeah, I'm gonna have to go with Louisville on this one. And just by the way, I know I sound lost, but the three of us probably wouldn't have picked Mississippi State to lose last night. So I feel like there's going to be some upsets this weekend. So I'm going to go with Louisville.
Well, again, I mean, nobody foresaw Fitzgerald going down with that terrible injury and changed everything in that game. Let's hope that doesn't happen in any of these games. To Atlanta, Georgia at Georgia Tech. General, the Yellow Jackets are getting 11, so they are thinking that Georgia's going to win by 11 or more. What do you think?
I'm going to go with Georgia winning by 11 or more.
You want Georgia laying the points 11 or more. Governor?
I'm with the General on that one. I think Georgia's playing for a lot more than pride in this game, so I'm going to take Georgia.
Yeah, you know, Georgia's probably thinking, win this one impressively, win the SEC championship with Miami losing, a couple of other things may be happening. Who knows? They might get right back into that top 4. All right, the Iron Bowl. I saw something today at Auburn. The game's being played at Auburn. They have something called the reverse Tiger Walk, and that is the people greet the team today at their stadium as they're loading their bus, and they form their human tunnel for them to walk to their buses. It's the reverse Tiger Walk, only at Auburn. So, Governor, Auburn at home getting 4.5. What do you think?
I wonder if we can try that reverse Tiger Walk on Clemson, and they won't show up tomorrow. I'm just thinking through that.
You're a game ahead of yourself here.
You know, I'm going to take Alabama in this. I know Auburn is the sexy pick, but it's hard to pick against Saban in a big game like this where so much is on the line. So I'll take Bama.
All right. General?
Auburn.
Auburn. You want the home dog? You want the 4.5?
That's right.
No hesitation on that one either. I like it. Showing some
conviction,
some backbone. Yeah.
Like
you really had studied for that. All right, let's go to the big one, the Palmetto Bowl in Columbia. As I mentioned, Tyler Shugart from our affiliate up in Spartanburg reported earlier today, and he's out of Union himself, that the Gamecocks receiver, Shi Smith, who's an important part of that offense, but with his big playability and his speed, is out. He said with an MCL injury, he'd had a leg injury, a lower leg injury coming out of the Wofford game. So apparently the Gamecocks will be without that particular offensive weapon. And let's see, I believe it is Allen's time. So, Allen, who do you like? The Gamecocks are getting 13.5 at home. That means Clemson needs to win by 13.5 or more.
I'm going to go with the Gamecocks. If they lose, it'll be within the spread. But I feel like South Carolina's motivated. They got nothing to lose, everything to gain. And frankly, after what they said about never again, they've got to live up to that hype. So I'm going to go with Carolina covering the spread.
Gamecocks getting a 13.5. Okay, I think there might be just a little bit of homerism in that selection, a little bit of want to in that selection, Governor. Governor, I know you never let
not a little bit. There's a lot.
Governor, I know you never let your heart get in the way of your mind when you make these picks. That's why you've been so dominant for the most part over the years, except of course up against Governor Beasley.
Well, look, when you I do have a 5-game lead, so I can afford to do something dumb every now and then, right? But I don't actually think it's going to be dumb here. I think Carolina, again, home dog, 13 points. That's too many points for a rivalry game played at night. And I believe there are going to be some turnovers. And Carolina is, I think they got a chance to win it, but at least they're going to keep it close. So I'll take the Gamecocks.
Both of you want the Gamecocks. Both of you want Georgia. Otherwise, you differ. We wish you the best of luck, guys. Thanks for being with us tonight. Enjoy the game tomorrow.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Attorney General Alan Wilson, Governor Jim Hodges with us here tonight. Sports Talk, the football filibuster. Give you our picks coming up in a moment. Plus, we'll hear from Jake Bentley. Once again, thanks to the Attorney General Wilson, the Governor Hodges for being with us tonight for our football filibuster here on Sports Talk. When David Shelton was with us a little while ago, his high school report was brought to you by Farm Bureau. With new auto insurance rates from Farm Bureau, you could be saving a whole lot of money. Even if you received a quote before, rates are now more competitive than ever. So get a no-obligation quote today at favrates.com. Before we get to our picks and to Jake Bentley, some breaking news out of Fayetteville, Arkansas, guys.
Yeah, Brett Bielema has been dismissed as the head football coach at the University of Arkansas. According to the athletic director, Julie Cromer-Peoples, the interim athletic director, she said that shortly after the completion of today's game, she met with the coach and informed him of the decision to move forward with new leadership in the Razorback football program. He was the 32nd head coach in history at Arkansas, just 29-34, including an under 500 record in the SEC. But Bielema gone, creating another opening in the Southeastern Conference.
He was hired to play that hog ball, really smash it at people. Turned out he's more successful with a combination of throwing and running. But Corn left because they wouldn't pay his assistants at Wisconsin, I guess, but it didn't work out for him. And they have an interim athletic director. Does that mean they call Gus Malzahn and say, Gus, if you take the job right now, we'll let you name the athletic director?
No.
Yeah, it's always dicey when you've got athletic directors leaving. That's what Malzahn is facing at Auburn. Does he want to be there with a guy who didn't hire him? That's a big worry for head coaches, working for a guy that didn't hire you. Unless you're ultra successful, that seems to always come back to haunt you.
I mean, literally, they had the release printed up before he even left the field, Corn. So you had to know that even if they would have pulled out a victory, it seemed like regardless of result, they had prepared themselves for his demise.
Yeah. South Florida continues to lead Central Florida 34-28 midway through the fourth. TCU beat Baylor 45-22. Pittsburgh over Miami, of course, 24-14 tonight. Virginia Tech rivalry game. That is tonight, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is tonight also. Virginia Tech at Virginia tonight. Jake Bentley, USC quarterback, going into his second USC Clemson game. He'll be one of those rare quarterbacks, if everything works out for him, he'll have a chance to play in 4 USC Clemson games, unless he departs early or loses his job, which, you can't foresee that. But as of right now, he'll be making his second start in as many years as the Gamecock quarterback. Did not go well for him, as we all recall last year. He's kind of put that behind him, used it as motivation. He also understands the importance of his role being a quarterback at South Carolina in this rivalry game.
Being, from the state and, seeing guys like, Connor Shaw and Dylan and Stephen Garcia and guys like that play before me, and just seeing the success and then, the things that they've been through, not just only against Clemson, but a winning quarterback in general. But, obviously winning the state's a big deal. And to kind of, I guess be the quarterback of the team is a nice thing, but there's a lot of other people that go into a win, not just the quarterback.
Jake, Syracuse beat Clemson by eating up the tempo, particularly on offense. Is that something that you guys have looked at or tried to fit that into what you guys do?
Yeah, I think we're just going to go through and kind of, play our game and, try to just execute at a high level. And that's what we talk about every week. And, nothing changes in that, aspect, just trying to go out there and execute the best we can.
Jake, you guys had some success against Wofford with a few deep shots down the field. How important is that going to be to stretch Clemson's defense a little on Saturday night?
Yeah, obviously they have a great D-line, great box, and, a great defense overall. It makes it up a lot. So, and the big thing is going to be winning one-on-one matchups. That's kind of every week what we talk about. But, definitely this week, winning those matchups, whether it be a lineman or a receiver, just winning those matchups. And, putting the pressure on them, being aggressive, trying to go win the big one. So
Jake Taylor Stallworth was telling us earlier that you guys put on some of the film from last year's game. I'm wondering how much you guys talk about it and how much you use it for motivation this year to try to get even in the series.
It's kind of different for each guy. Some guys I think feed off that more than just for me, I just the game itself is motivation for me. Obviously everyone that was here knows what happened. Some guys need to be reminded of it every day to kind of fire them up. But I'm sure Taylor probably said it. Just got to go out there and play, though. It's a different team than last year. It's a different game. It's a different, situation. So just got to go out there and execute at a high level.
Last year, they had you come over to the sideline to get the play call and apparently to maybe try to slow the game down and maybe kind of settle you down. Did that end up having the opposite effect? Did you ever get settled down into the game? And then how are you different in terms of your excitement level and your mental approach this time around?
It was different for me last year. It kind of limited the time that I had to kind of, try to pick out what they were doing. And so it was definitely challenging for me last year doing that. But I think this year I know more. A lot of time last year just making, silly mistakes and, not something in protection, not seeing it. So I think this year just being more aware of that and what defenses are trying to do. Not just them in general, but, throughout the whole year, I feel like I've been able to see it more. So, hopefully through film study, just knowing more what I'm looking for, I'll be able to, pick it up better on Saturday.
Jake Bentley. Yeah, I got to believe he's going to handle things much better this time around. He's going to have the advantage of knowing the offense so much better, having the option to change plays, do things at the line of scrimmage. And unlike last year, he should have the full ample play clock with which to work with instead of getting back out to the huddle or out to the line of scrimmage with 15 seconds to go. He'll have all of that working in his favor tomorrow, and that should give him a chance to execute better against this great Clemson defense. As far as our picks for this weekend, guys, let's take a look at the sheet and see what we've got here in our Palmetto Pigskin Sports Talk Pick'em Challenge. And let's see who was leading after last week. A 3-2 week for the Big Kahuna makes him 35-25, 2 games ahead of your humble host. Pro is 2 games back at 31-29. Will, you are at 30-30, pretty average, 500. Alan Smothers, the bad boy, 28-32. Kev Cohen, 27-33, and Matt the Newsman, 24-36. Of course, he's getting married, so he's got an excuse for not having complete focus on football this season. We give him a pass. So Ohio State at Michigan, and pretty much a split crew here for that one. I've got Michigan. Pro's got Ohio State. Will's got Michigan. Mm-hmm. And kind of split. There's a couple of Kev Cohen's taking Ohio State. The bad boys taking Ohio State. Louisville at Kentucky. Everybody except me is taking Kentucky in the 10. I'm taking Louisville laying the 10.
Interesting.
I think the Cards are going to roll. Yeah, I think they're going to roll. They've got their offense going big right now.
What about that defense, Corn?
I see Matador Capes on the other side.
Yeah, about that defense.
I don't think that much of Kentucky's defense either. So the way they've been playing. So I'm laying the 10. Georgia Tech. Everybody's taking Georgia except Kev Cohen. He likes Tech getting the 11. Auburn, Alabama. Again, it's kind of split. I'm taking Auburn. Pro's got Auburn. Will's got Auburn. Everybody else is taking Alabama. I like the 4.5 points. I think it's going to be one of those.
I like Auburn to win it outright.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And finally, USC Clemson. Let's see who's got who here. I'm taking the Gamecocks and the points. So is Pro. Oh, Will's going with the Tigers straight up.
24-10. I got to stick with my pick.
Okay. All right. Well, 24-10, 13.5. That's a 23.5 game. That's very narrow.
I understand the way that math works, Corn. I don't use that lot of math.
Clemson.
I know how to count.
Kev Cohen and the bad boy taking Clemson. What a surprise. The Big Kahuna's picking the Gamecocks, taking the points. He's probably taking them straight up. Top of the hour, we'll be back.
Round 2 of Sports Talk up next with your hosts Phil Kornblut, Will Pelagic, and the Professor Tom Hayes. Don't leave us hanging. Join the show, 800-956-7266.
Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. It's a Friday night. How happy is everybody that it's Friday? Of course,
yes,
it is a bit of a bum. Well, it's a bit of a bummer to have. I mean, look, I love Thanksgiving. I just hate that it falls right in the heart of the buildup of the week. You sort of like you build on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, then things kind of shut down, slow down on Thursday. Then you got to regenerate all the batteries on Friday, which is what we're doing here on Sports Talk tonight, getting you ready for the big USC Clemson battle.
You mean you didn't have
tomorrow night?
You didn't have yourself a little hot turkey sandwich to recharge the battery there?
That's coming. That's coming here in about 54 minutes.
Supposed to stick your hand in a light socket.
I got the bird take 2 waiting for me.
I already did mine, man. I'm ready. Let's do it.
Well, yeah, I can see on the screen here exactly how much you ate over the last couple of days.
Wow,
well,
you wear
such,
it well.
You're such a I swear, as if you're the only one between the two of us who could afford to lose a couple, man. Like, come on, dude. I think you gained back all you lost on your Cuban vacation, and then you gained that deposit back.
You don't have to try and fight back. Just accept it in the sense
I'm aware.
of the humor that it's offered.
I've told you that after football season, you're going to see the new Will Pelagic.
As we say in the country, I lost a few pounds. Well, if you look behind you, you'll find it.
See?
Oh, okay, okay. The game between Central Florida and South Florida, I don't have it in front of me. I was just watching it
35-34.
A moment ago. Yeah, that's a Donnybrook, and the quarterback for South Florida, Quentin Flowers, who was so good against South Carolina in the bowl game, been so good in his career. I just saw the graphic where he had 498 total yards himself, which was about 2 yards more than Central Florida. I mean, what a show he must be putting on.
He's doing quite a show, and they just got a nice gain off a screen pass, and they're going to go in for 6. So there you go. Central Florida will take looks to be 8-point lead if they can get the extra point on South Florida, and that could possibly seal it if South Florida can't get themselves back in the end zone.
And the winner of this game, of course, goes to the championship game of the American Athletic Conference, and they get the 6.
The New Year's, the New Year's 6 game. Automatic going in with the group of 5. How cold-blooded is it, Corn, that they had the release for Brett Bielema's axing printed and basically handed out while he was shaking Barry Odom's hand on the field in Arkansas? That was so cold-blooded.
Well, I mean, college has become that way. I mean, they've gotten to where they fire coaches in season now. Of course, it's no secret that colleges have gone behind the backs of their head coaches for years. Happened to Tommy Tuberville when he was at was he at Auburn, I think it was, when they were flying in what's his name from Louisville. They were talking to him while Tuberville was at Auburn. Yeah, they were talking to Petrino. Remember, they went to see Petrino.
Yep.
Tuberville's still coaching them and all that kind of nonsense. And, of course, coaches do the same thing to school. So, it's not the Pollyannish loving relationship in a lot of cases that you might think it is. And in this particular case, I mean, they were ready to make a move. They weren't going to fool around. And I would say it would have been classier to wait until either later tonight or tomorrow, or even Monday if you wanted to. Of course, if this is something that you want to kind of get lost in the media of all the big things going on, you announce it tonight or tomorrow because everybody's caught up in the games over the next 24, 48 hours. And your thing kind of, except for the people in Arkansas, it kind of passes through the channel without making a whole bunch of noise.
But it also just fuels up that speculation about, especially after the Iron Bowl is played tomorrow, all that speculation about Gus Malzahn, whether or not the tug of home and possibly the fact of having to work for somebody at Auburn who didn't necessarily hire him, whether or not that forces him to kind of think about his future at Auburn.
If I'm Gus Malzahn, I have a press conference before tomorrow's game, just like the Mad Hatter did at the SEC championship game. I have not talked to anyone. I am looking forward to getting my team ready for the Iron Bowl. Have a nice day.
Well, I'll say this. If I'm Gus Malzahn, and I don't know his thinking whatsoever, but knowing from an outsider standpoint, watching the Auburn program over the years and how it eats its own alive, even when you're doing decently, if I've got a chance to go back home to Arkansas and be welcomed like a king and be given probably whatever I want, especially if he beats Alabama tomorrow, he could probably get anything he wants from Arkansas short of a lifetime contract.
Yeah.
I would take it. I would take it before, I mean.
But that fan base is more rabid than anybody else in the conference, so that's the problem. That's the problem.
Arkansas?
Yeah.
Arkansas? More rabid than Alabama's?
They're about as crazy. Alabama has a reason to be crazy. Arkansas fans have no reason to be crazy. That's the issue.
Of course, now the question becomes, too, if you're Malzahn, let's say you beat Alabama, you're going to the SEC championship game. You don't want to walk away from your guys at this point. I mean, you got to go ahead and let things play out, maybe even into the college football playoff. If you pull off the miracle finish, look at the miracle finish that Auburn would have had if they went out here.
Yeah. Phil, just want to interrupt you for a moment. As we get on the seesaw again, South Florida strikes very quickly. There's that man again, Quentin Flowers, with a bomb. I think it was about 56 yards. Now it's 42-40 with the extra point upcoming, and we have 1:41 to go. By the way, also upset alert in the PK80 tournament. Texas 62, number 1 Duke 48, about 10.5 minutes to go. Shaka Smart.
Shaka about to shock them. Well, is anybody playing defense there in Orlando? I mean, come on.
I think the same virus that was in Fayetteville has made its way to the Sunshine State.
So anyway, going back to Malzahn in Arkansas very quickly, I mean, you guys see what I'm saying? If you know the Auburn situation, historically, how they treat their coaches, short of Shook Jordan, who was, like a Bear Bryant to those guys.
Yes.
You don't last very long there. They have a lot of influential boosters that if you get sideways with them in any form or fashion, they will work behind the scenes to get you out of there in a hurry, no matter what the cost and no matter what the embarrassment. And you've got a new AD coming in who will not be a guy that hires you. I'm not sure I would trust Auburn to be my place for longevity if I'm Gus Malzahn, especially if I finish up strongly and I've got all the cards in my hand.
The only problem is you're also going to a place in Arkansas where, I mean, will they have to hire the head coach without necessarily an AD in place there? I mean, it usually takes longer to hire an athletics director than it does to hire a coach, at least in a sport. So in my mind, the man you are working for, a woman, if you're working for a woman athletic director, whatever you'd be working for at Arkansas would not be in place until the time that you get there. So
that's why they say they're going to let him name the athletic director. They'll let Gus. By the way, Corn, they got a 2-point conversion. So we're tied up 42-42, minute 41 to go.
Recruiting here. Let's see if I can get recruiting in before they score their next touchdown. Defensive back Brendan Radley Hiles of IMG Academy in Florida made his official visit to Clemson last weekend. He's doing a weekly recruiting diary for diehards.com. He wrote that his mother, brother, and niece joined him on the visit, added that he enjoyed meeting the other recruits who were in for the visit and for their visits, and then spent time at Dabo Sweeney's new house. Overall, he wrote the visit was a great experience for him. And he said that he really enjoyed meeting with Sweeney and likes some of the things that Sweeney had to say to him, and that he cares about him and knows more about him as a person than just as a player. He's a former Nebraska commitment. He's also been to Lincoln, Texas, and Oklahoma for official visits and will visit UCLA this weekend, even though UCLA doesn't have a head coach.
Corn, you weren't able to get recruiting done because Central Florida returned the ensuing kickoff back for a touchdown.
Oh, my God.
So I hate to interrupt your recruiting, but I just had to tell you.
That is quite all right. Quite all right. All right, we'll come back and finish up the recruiting on the other side, and we're going to hear from the Tigers' Kelly Bryant here on Sports Talk. Okay, anybody score since we were last on the air?
Well,
Not yet.
no, tight end caught a pass beyond the 50-yard line. He was stripped. Central Florida recovers, and they're taking a knee.
Oh, taking a knee. So the final is what?
49-42, Central Florida.
Okay, so they stay undefeated. That will further increase the Scott Frost talk with Florida. By the way, report out of Tennessee today, our boy Jimmy Himes does such a great job covering the Volunteers, saying that Tennessee has not reached out to Dan Mullen, has not interviewed Dan Mullen, hasn't talked to Dan Mullen yet, as he put it. So the Mississippi State coach who said after his game yesterday that he's still the coach at Mississippi State, plans to be back at Mississippi State as of now. But he will be a hot commodity as some of these jobs continue to open up around the Southeast and around the country. So it looks like Kelly's going to UCLA in all probability. And I imagine Florida may move very quickly on Scott Frost to try to prevent him from going to Nebraska. Very similar move situation with USC, Georgia, and Kirby Smart, where Georgia moved quickly to push out Mark Richt so they could get Kirby Smart before he might land somewhere else. Nebraska, they were playing today as well. Anybody seen a score on that one? They were playing Iowa. It's expected there's going to be a change in Lincoln, and Frost being an alum, the idea is Nebraska's going to come after him quickly and hard.
56-14, Iowa beat him bad, Corn.
Oh, that's got to be the end of it.
4-8 is what they finish. I would have to say this: I don't think that Florida is going to let Scott Frost get anywhere outside of the state boundary. I really don't. I really think that they're gonna hire him, and then I think you'll love this: Bielema goes to Nebraska. How about that? How about that?
So he can come back
Bielema to Nebraska,
Wisconsin.
back to the Big Ten, so he can shame Wisconsin.
Bielema's damaged goods, man. I think he's damaged goods.
So was Muschamp.
So was Muschamp.
No, not as damaged as this guy. Muschamp was 28-21.
Yeah.
What's Bielema's record at Arkansas?
29-34.
Yeah, so I mean, come on, that's a little different. And he also won a division, and he also played for a SEC championship. He also played in the Sugar Bowl. Bielema never came close to any of that. So
Wisconsin tenure was very good, though.
It was, but I can't explain what happened to him at Arkansas. It looked like a good hire at the time.
You're playing in the SEC West. I can explain it very, very easily. And he's recruiting in a footprint he's never had to recruit in before.
And any football program, in my mind, that's been really stripped of its aura by all these conference affiliations, it has to be Nebraska.
Oh, yeah.
It really has been.
They are the loser of realignment, the absolute undisputed loser of realignment.
And they owe it to themselves because they stabbed Missouri in the back, who thought they had the Big Ten choice, and then they bolted because, look, we have a better football program, a better pedigree than Missouri, and then they literally just cut their own throats by moving.
Well, they had better academics at Missouri than they had at Nebraska.
Exactly.
That's the problem.
Well, just keep in mind, too, whatever happens at Florida, keep a close watch on the South Carolina staff. I mean, the new coach will certainly bring in some people from his old staff, but I got to believe, especially Mike Peterson, a former Gator who's done a great job at South Carolina, Travaris Robinson, with his ties down to the University of Florida in particular, those two, even though they've got great jobs at South Carolina, and Travaris, he's already defensive coordinator at South Carolina. However, he works for a head coach who's a defensive mastermind. Maybe he would think to himself, let me go somewhere where I am the guy who gets all the credit for the defense versus working for a guy who everybody assumes it's puts his footprint, his handprint all over the defense.
You could always add a title to somebody, whether it's assistant head coach or associate head coach, stuff like that. Those things come with a couple extra shekels in your pocket.
Shekels. I like the monetary choice that you chose there.
Sure.
A reminder that the Touchstone Energy Bowl North-South All-Star Game is coming up quickly, just a couple of weeks away. and you can order tickets online. Today's the last day for the $15 price at touchstoneenergybowl.com. After today, it goes up $5 to $20. And, of course, you got a chance to win a couple of tickets to the game, as well as a $100 Visa gift card and free Touchstone Energy merchandise. Go and register by December 1st at scliving.coop/touchdown. That's scliving.coop/touchdown. All right, let me give you the rest of the recruiting report for tonight. We were talking about Brendan Radley Hiles of IMG Academy in Florida. Again, former Nebraska commit, took his official to Clemson last weekend, wrote on his diary for diehards.com how much he enjoyed the visit and liked Dabo Swinney. He's been to Nebraska, Texas, and Oklahoma for officials, and he'll visit UCLA this weekend. He's going even though UCLA doesn't have a head coach. They still have the staff there, and he knows the staff. Plus, he's from California. Spring Valley linebacker Channing Tindall switched his Auburn visit for this weekend from unofficial to official. In fact, Auburn is having a big recruiting weekend with several major targets coming in for official visits, and this is one of them. And I would not discount Auburn at all in the competition for Channing Tindall, considering he's being recruited by a former Spring Valley linebacker, Travis Williams, who coaches a position at Auburn and went to Auburn and was a terrific SEC linebacker. Ben Lippen linebacker Kyle Wright's taking an official to Purdue this weekend. Offensive lineman Trey Hill of Warner Robins, Georgia, is going to Auburn officially this weekend. Clemson has also shown some interest in him, but really hasn't pushed him lately. Offensive lineman Jerome Carbon of Memphis is taking an official to Auburn this weekend as well. USC has been recruiting him, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, check here very quickly, that might be his last official. I know he was considering USC for an official. He's been to Tennessee, Mississippi State, UCLA, and Memphis. So, yes, this would be his fifth and final official visit. So it looks like the Gamecocks are going to miss out on a chance to get him in for an official visit unless he decides to come in unofficially. Now, offensive lineman Javon Gwynn of Charlotte said that he will be at USC tomorrow for an unofficial visit. This will be his first game visit to USC this season. He was on hand for the NC State game in Charlotte. He's also been to State for a game, and he's playing in the playoffs tonight. Others scheduled for unofficial visits at USC tomorrow, and this is just a sampling. Defensive end Dorian Gerald of the College of the Canyons Junior College in California. Offensive lineman Dylan Wanham of Atlanta. Defensive lineman Rick Sandage of Concord, North Carolina. And defensive back J.C. Horn of Atlanta. These are all 2018 targets. The Gamecocks will have targets in from the 2019-2020 classes as well. Committed defensive back Jonathan Gibson of Houston, Georgia, said he's coming in for an official visit this weekend. And in basketball, 6'7" Christian Brown of Lower Richland plans to be at USC Saturday for an unofficial visit. And also at USC for an unofficial basketball visit tomorrow will be Trey McGowan's 6'3" point guard from Hargrave Prep in Virginia. And there you go with recruiting. Remember to check it out on our website regularly, SportsTalkSC.com, and on Twitter, use the hashtag #STRecruiting. All right, coming up, we'll hear from Tiger quarterback Kelly Bryant. We've got Clay Hendricks, Furman football coach, coming up after the break as well. We'll also hear from the Tigers' Kelly Bryant, his thoughts on his first start against the Gamecocks. You know, he's never, even though he's been in the Clemson program for a long time, he's never had a chance to take a meaningful snap against the Gamecocks. He'll get that chance tomorrow, guys, under the most hostile of conditions, I'm sure.
And interestingly enough, as I told you and I alluded to earlier, South Carolina natives starting for Clemson don't necessarily win ball games. Woody Dantzler did what in 98, and you got to go all the way back to 77. Steve Fuller, the one who won there. So from that perspective, if you're a South Carolina native and you're starting a quarterback for Clemson, you don't necessarily win the game that happens in the odd year. So it's a tough ask, but one that I'm sure he is at least well tasked and well helped in trying to make sure happen.
In last year's blowout, Kelly did get in. He didn't throw a pass, but he did rush the ball twice for 5 yards, and he had that one touchdown run of 4 yards against the Gamecocks. course, it is the big week in South Carolina with the Gamecocks and the Tigers getting ready to face off tomorrow night at Williams-Brice Stadium. I feel a little embarrassed to be playing the Clemson fight song when we've got Furman coach Clay Hendricks coming on board. We should have dropped in, now that I think about it, we should have dropped in the Furman fight song, Coach. If you want to hum a few bars, we'll be more than willing to hear what you got for us.
Well, you might lose a few listeners if I did that. So.
Well, you understand how things are. How you doing? Congratulations, Coach of the Year in the Southern Conference, and you got your team in the postseason in year one. What a strong finish you had, except for that loss to Samford last week. You really got it rolling there from about week 4 on.
Yeah, I feel we played pretty well down the stretch. Obviously disappointed last week. We didn't get it done. We had every opportunity to do it, and just didn't get it done. But really excited to be in postseason, and we got a chance. We just need to go play well and get a chance to play a team that we lost week 2 last play of the game, and good thing we played particularly well. So I think as a competitor, anytime you get a chance to play somebody that beat you once before, I hope that'll be a little more incentive for our kids to go play well.
Yeah, how much would you say you guys are down the road from where you were when you played Elon in week 2? How far are you down the road from that to where you are the team that you wanted to be, early? Maybe it took a little bit longer to get there.
Well, I think the biggest difference was I wasn't really sure what we could be. It was figuring out a little bit personnel-wise. We played 27 freshmen, and so you think about 27 freshmen, that was the second game they'd ever played. Finding out what P.J. Blakey after their quarterback, maybe what his strengths were. One of our lead rushers, Keenan Dirks, didn't play. We shuffled our offensive linemen after about week 3, and I think that's been good for us. And then, played so many guys, defensively that I think we're a vastly different team. I think just maybe experience-wise, I do think we played pretty well on offense most of the year. One of the big keys in that game is we turned it over. I think we're down 21-0 in the first quarter, and we've been pretty good at taking care of the ball. So I hope we can just kind of continue to do the things we've been doing. It gives us a chance, and I think we're a much better football team, and I'm sure they feel the same way. So it'll be a good challenge for us.
I know that loss to Samford kind of sticks with you at the end there, Coach. But it seems to me that as you guys kept winning in that second half of the season, there were a lot of things that kind of really started clicking for the first time. Is there one thing in particular that you'd point to where you say you had an aha moment where things really started to kind of go back in your favor?
Well, you know what? I think we won a couple of games, and then we go up to Chattanooga, a team that's been really the dominant team in our league the last 4 or 5 years, and really kind of won in a dominating way up there. Probably against maybe one of the better defenses in our league, and then and I think that probably turned. It won the big game up at Western. We both, they were a top 15 team in the country, and our kids got some confidence, and we've done some really good things. We've been able to run it and throw it. And mix a little option in there with it, which I've always thought was a tough combination to defend. And then defensively, we just kind of kept getting a little better. We went from a team a year ago that had 12 sacks in 11 games, and we got 31 right now. And we've got, 21 or 22 guys coming back next year. So I think for us, it was just kind of continuing to get a little better as we went. And we got a little confidence, and, we played pretty good on special teams most of the year, and you get in the playoffs. One of the neat things about it is, you don't necessarily have to be the best team. You can play the best, and go play the game, win, try to advance, and you got a new week next week. So hopefully that's what we'll do tomorrow.
Mentioning that you've got so many guys coming back, I mean, do you feel like you're a little bit ahead of schedule by making the playoffs and, having a chance to share the championship in the league? You fall short of that, but you think you're a little bit ahead of schedule here in year one to accomplish as much as you did?
Yeah, somebody asked me the other day, and, probably if you ask me now, I'd probably say, yeah, we're maybe a little ahead of where I thought we'd be. I've tried not to think too far in advance. I really just tried to, go to the adage, let's get a little better today. Let's see how well we can play this week, and then let's move on to the next one. And it got to the point where we played a little better, got some wins, got a little confidence, and are we ahead of where I thought we would be? Probably. I know we looked back a couple of weeks ago in open date, and I had to pull up some spring practice video from maybe the first day of pads, and it was bad. It was bad. But I can remember thinking early in the year, I just was wanting to make sure we didn't go over 11. The way it started. But we had played well enough in those first couple of games that there were a lot of good signs. We were just far too inconsistent. And to be honest, we like just changing the mentality, go from waiting for something bad to happen and going to expecting to play well, and winning. And I think we're kind of over that hump. And, we just got to continue to recruit well, keep improving. I'm not ready for the season to end, but I'm kind of excited to see where we'll be, 9 months from now because we need to get a little bigger, stronger, faster. And I think that was a little bit evident. It was to me last week. We went to Sanford, really talented group, has a good number of transfer kids. And, there were a few spots where you could just tell there was an obvious difference, talent-wise.
Yeah, Coach, I was about to ask you, you get your young players, and always things come up that maybe you don't think about, or maybe you don't think it'll affect them as much as you think it would. But I got to feel that it's exciting. But then again, you have to warn them, please. I know you got friends and fans talking about that carrot dangling in front of you if you beat Elon and you get another shot at Wofford. And
right.
Is it tough for you to tell? So look, wait a minute, we're playing the Phoenix now. Don't worry about the Terriers.
Well, probably the fact that it's kind of funny the way this thing happened. You play these two teams. Makes you essentially lost the last part of the game first 2 weeks. I really hadn't heard the Wofford one even kind of mentioned by our kids, and I'm sure it's in the back of their mind. But if you don't take care of business this week, it doesn't matter. And I think maybe last week awakened us a little bit to that because if we just played a little better, I didn't think we played particularly well. I thought we played hard, but we just didn't execute very well. And you get in a game like that, and it's going to come down to a handful of plays, and you got to give them credit. They made them and we didn't. And I think it'll be similar, tomorrow. The best thing about this group is they have been all year. They come to practice and they prepare and they work. There hadn't been a lot of highs and lows. They've been, as I like to say, stay out of the valleys and stay off the peaks because it's never as bad as good. And they've been a pretty steady group all year, and I didn't sense any difference this week.
Well, we congratulate you and your group. What a terrific turnaround year in year one for you. Good luck tomorrow. And, man, I tell you what, we got USC Clemson tomorrow. It'd be great to follow that up with Furman Wofford next week. That'd be pretty sweet. So good luck, and see if you can get that done for everybody.
Hey, that'd be great. I appreciate you guys having me on.
Always a pleasure, Coach. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
That was great.
All right, Clay Hendricks. I tell you, he has done an amazing job just looking at some of the numbers that Furman has put together. They're averaging 35 points per game this year. Unfortunately, under their previous guys, and they did everything they could. They couldn't muster much offense previously, and he has come in with his history of running his offense at Air Force, and they have just lit it up offensively. And they're especially good, 50% on third down, and over 70% on fourth down. They go for it on fourth down pretty regularly. They're not afraid to do that. So very good offensive numbers in the red zone. Been in the red zone a lot and scoring about 75% of the time touchdowns when they get into the red zone. I think that's pretty good as well. Okay, when we come back, will Kelly Bryant get the Tigers in the red zone into the end zone? That's coming up.
and didn't play well. It was humanly possible. Down the stretch and just kind of and played a great game and played well down the stretch and just kind of news about me. So I was informed coming off the field that no longer be the coach at Arkansas. Down the stretch and just kind of summarizes the entire year for us, just where we're at and moving forward. Obviously, you guys probably heard the entire year for us, just where we're at and moving forward. Obviously, down the stretch and just kind of summarizes the entire year for us, just where we're at and moving forward.
Okay, our final segment before we hit the big game as we're counting down here, our official countdown clock here on Sports Talk. Rolling under 24 hours. We are less than 24 hours away from the big game in Columbia. Hopefully it will be everything that we'd like it to be, which is a close, well-contested, clean, fourth quarter kind of football game. I want to remind you, here on Sports Talk, made possible by your local South Carolina Electric Cooperative, sponsor of the annual Touchstone Energy Cooperatives Bowl. And to find out more about what the co-ops are doing across the state, be sure to visit ecsc.org. Remember the date, December 9th, for the Touchstone Energy Cooperatives Bowl. Sports Talk also brought to you by South Carolina soybean farmers and their checkoff. Learn more at scsoybeans.org. Pork, powered by soy. So we heard earlier from Jake Bentley, Gamecock quarterback. Will, Kelly Bryant has less experience in this game than Jake Bentley does.
He does, but he certainly understands the responsibility that it is to be the Clemson quarterback playing in the state championship.
It's special to participate in this rivalry and be a player. That I can say later on down the road that I played in a rivalry. I was a starting quarterback in this rivalry, and it means a lot to a lot of people in the state. A lot of people playing their whole lives around Clemson, South Carolina. So it's special. I'm really looking forward to it. And I know the guys here, we're looking forward to taking the trip down to Columbia on Saturday.
What do you remember about that environment a couple of years ago in Columbia?
Oh man, it was loud. You hear the their little fight song, the Sandstorm, whatever it's called. It just they kept playing it and playing it, and so it was the fans were into it, through start to finish. They just see that there's a lot of pride down there in Columbia.
What is it about this rivalry that's so special?
It's in-state rivalry. Neither one of us really like each other, so and also we're playing for a trophy, so we want to be on the winning side, to keep the trophy here in Clemson, rather than it being down there. So that's why it's so special.
When you were a little boy, you played those games in the backyard. Did you imagine being a starting quarterback in this rivalry?
I really necessarily didn't imagine myself, just being starter quarterback here in this game right here. I just would play, mess around, and just imagine myself just playing football in general, no matter where I was at. So I don't really think I, grew up, thinking, I'll be here playing in this rivalry.
How heavily were you recruited by them? And I know the previous staff, and did it come down to one of them?
That was actually the first school to actually offer me. So it was really sweet, being a high school kid, finishing freshman year a season, and to know that I got an offer, for in-state school. So, like I said, yeah, that was the first school to offer me, so that was really neat. That's my freshman year of high school. Yes, I did, but as the process went on through, I really didn't I liked it, but I didn't really see that as a fit for me.
Have you taken any time at all to think about the kind of legacy quarterback sleeve here? Of course, Whitehurst, I think, was 4-0, Sean 3-0, and even with all his achievements, that is kind of near the top for him, beating those guys 3 in a row.
Well, I just want to continue to train. You never want to be on the losing side of this rivalry, because you have to live with it 365 days of the year. So I'm gonna try to keep the trend going.
Got that South Carolina offer, as you know, Corn, but went with Clemson and now has the Tigers on the precipice of the ACC championship and the college football playoff.
Okay, of course, now we're into the merry-go-round season of college coaches being fired, leaving for other jobs, whatever the case may be. News came down today out of Arkansas moments after the Razorbacks were beaten by Missouri that Brett Bielema was being fired from his job as head coach of the Razorbacks. Here are a few of his comments right after the ball game about getting fired.
Obviously, you guys probably heard the news about me, so I was informed coming off the field that no longer be the coach at Arkansas. So from this point forward, I guess the biggest thing I really take from my experience here is I've always kind of heard and never been let go in my entire life. So this is the first for me. But I've had quite a few coaches as they've moved on. They always kind of say, and whether it's right, wrong, or indifferent, you want to leave the place better than when you got here. And I know that's happened. There's no doubt. I know we want more wins. I know we all want this. And we're on a steady climb and ran into a speed bump that we just never really able to get back out of. We're on a steady win cycle with 3, and then to go to 6, and then with 7, and then to 8, and then looked like we could possibly get to 8, 9, 10, and didn't play well down the stretch a year ago. And unfortunately, the things that were brought in front of us this year, I was sitting there watching the Mississippi State Mississippi game last night and saw Fitzgerald go down, and really the game was never really the same again. And obviously he was a great player for them, and I was sitting there and, as this thing kind of evolved, to put together things about why we should stay, why we should be allowed to, stay here. And one thing that jumped out, 6 of our top 9, 10 players lost not only for the year but significant time. I'm not going to sit here and say that that's an excuse, but it's reality. When you're at the depth that we got and where we're at, brought to my attention that we had the toughest schedule in the SEC conference during my 5 years of being here. Amen. Somebody's got to be number 1 at something. Might as well be us. And the accomplishments we made from that first team meeting to where we are now, can't say enough about the work of our kids, our support people, all the people that made it possible. I have a group of coaches that has absolutely been awesome. The current ones, some of the ones we've had, all the support staff, all the administration. Jeff was awesome. Julie's been awesome. Chancellor Steinmetz has been awesome. I think the thing that ended up being disappointing for me is just I think have like 80% of our roster back offensively, all the yardage we scored, and numbers and points we put up. I think we're in a really good spot for moving forward. I will do anything and everything I can to help Arkansas. I'm a bigger fan of Arkansas now than ever.
That is at least the Brett Bielema statement. Very rarely do we get a statement after a firing Corn, but he classy and gracious. And according to Bo Mattingly, who hosts a sports talk show in Arkansas, he was not fired walking off the field. He was informed in his game day office adjacent to the locker room after the game. I think we all agree, though, it probably could have been handled a lot better by Arkansas. This, to me, is something that for them, the handling of this will probably factor into the next head coach's decision about whether or not they want to take this gig.
Well, I thought he handled that with a lot of class.
He did.
Can you imagine your head spinning after a loss like that, and then you're trying to get your head together for your post-game press conference?
Still wearing the logo of the school that fired you, man? That's terrible.
He handled that extremely well. I
wouldn't want to go out. I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
I'd say
Gus Malzahn is my prediction. I think Malzahn ends up at Arkansas. I think Malzahn, I could see that happening. Unless he does, he beats Alabama, wins the SEC, Auburn makes him this unbelievable offer with a ton of security. I think he'll be the next coach at Arkansas. The only thing that makes guess on my part.
The only thing that makes it a better job for him is that it's home. I don't think it's necessarily a better job. The fact that you do get the security of a new AD is a good thing. I just don't see why he'd make that move other than the tug of home.
Arkansas is a one-school state. You've got the whole state behind you. Every recruit anytime Arkansas, the state has a great player, he wants to go to Arkansas for the most part.
Well, you got to put him out of Texas.
Let me update some high school scores. Lamar on top of Rich Spring Manetta, 14-0. Berkeley leading Hartsville, 7-6. Let's see here. People are at the Dutch Fork Fort Dorchester game, but they're not tweeting the score yet.
Wow.
Just they're tweeting some play-by-play stuff. I need a score. Let's see here. Lamar. Okay, nobody else is tweeting. Here we go. South Point 13, Greer nothing. Don't forget, we'll have the high school scoreboard shows for you tonight, 10, 10:30, and 11. So we'll have those final scores for you. Thank you, Will. Thank you, Pro. And thank you, Brian. Everybody have a great night, a great weekend. Enjoy the game tomorrow. We'll talk about it big time Monday night right here on Sports Talk.